Good evening. I'm David Watts Jr., and welcome to Town Administrator's Report. With me is our Town Administrator, Steve Maio. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you, David. Welcome to you.
We are wrapping up the year
Another one down.
very quickly. One of the best things about December in Wakefield is the number of public events
Yeah.
that go on, and there's been quite a few events this December. We've had the Christmas tree lighting downtown to
Yeah,
start
that's
off the
the
month.
Wakefield Senate Neighborhood Association does such a wonderful job with that every year. It's great for the kids and now the grandkids, so it's just a fabulous, fun time. So love it.
Oh,
love it.
absolutely,
Yeah.
and it's great right there at the Rockery as
Yeah.
you come through the town. And then the next day was the Santa Parade through town, which
Yeah, that
kind
was-
of eked into before the rain.
Just beat the rain, and this was really, I think this is the third year, maybe, of doing it. And, the Chamber of Commerce brought that to me 3 years ago and said, we'd like to do something. It was during the throes of COVID. There was
Yep.
really nothing going on that was fun and upbeat. And seeing, people spill out to the end of their streets. And thank you to Wakefield Subaru for providing the cars and driving Santa through there, and brought a lot of joy to kids that had kind of a tough Christmas time there with really not understanding what's going on. So
Right.
what a great thing. So we continued it because it was fun, number one, and number two, there are still some that are a little bit more worried. Maybe they're compromised. There's we see an uptick. Don't want to go to the mall
Right.
or go anywhere else. So it worked out well.
Right.
So, but it did just beat the rain, just barely, barely.
But unfortunately, Holiday Stroll wasn't as lucky.
Yeah, holiday stroll hit the monsoon, which seems to be a common theme on Saturdays lately or weekends, and I think this Friday we're going to get another one. So
Friday-
people need to be careful and not
Friday
go
we
crazy.
have another
Yeah.
another heavy rainstorm.
Better than snow, though, I got to say. To all you snow lovers, I'm sorry, but to us budget hawks, it's much better than snow. Let me tell you.
Something else that unfortunately a lot of people aren't aware of and kind of miss a great opportunity to see one of the jewels of Wakefield is Hartshorn House does an open house that weekend also.
Yeah. Yeah, this year I had a family event to go to, but my wife and I have been there in the past, and it really is, I guess stunning is the word, or awe-invoking, to be there and to kind of see, what life was like and see how that the association decorates the Hartshorn House and the grounds. It's really is if you haven't gone, you have to at least go to that once
Right.
in your tenure in Wakefield. And
Right.
if you're a little bit tall, you might have to bend when you go through doorways, but it really is, it's part of our history, and it's a fabulous take, so.
Well, the average height was around 5 feet, 5
Yeah.
feet 2 at the time.
And I think
so-
the average doorway is about 5'10", so be careful if you go. But it's one of the gems of Wakefield. Thrilled we have it, so.
The other tradition, which has now been around for 64 years, is the arrival of Santa Claus.
Yes.
Lions
yes.
Club has
Lions
been
Club.
doing that since 1958. And in fact, during the 60s, he used to come in by helicopter.
I do remember that, or vaguely.
Courtesy of Rex Trailer,
Yeah.
and only a certain number of people of a certain age will
Yeah.
remember Rex Trailer. But so he's been at his little house talking to kids now until when? Friday?
I think even Saturday, even
Yeah.
Christmas Eve, yeah.
Okay. There was another event that you mentioned when we were talking earlier, Wreaths Across America.
Yes, this has really taken, really taken off by storm. And over the last few years, the premises across the country at the same time, so noon Eastern time, this last Saturday, veterans' graves are decorated with a wreath. And this event has grown each year. And it's, it was a few people the first year. And I think we had it the first year, we may have had it at the World War II Memorial. But this year, we actually go to Forest Glade now, have a very brief ceremony that is the same read all over the country that's involved in this. And then every veteran's in the veteran sections, and I think you'll know where they are if you've
Yep.
been to the, to Forest Glade. And they all are covered, or are reef, leaning against it. And the premises and the proper way to do it is not just to run and hit each, graves with a wreath, but to actually read the name, thank them for their service, lean the reef against it, kind of step back and give a silent prayer or reflection. So that has grown. In fact, this year, there were so many volunteers. It really was so heart-moving to see all of that there. And it's quite a sight. So if you, are taking a walk over the next few days, but, don't go on Friday during the rain, and you want to walk through Forest Glade, in solemnity and silence, it is quite something to see all of those graves covered with wreaths. Really, really quite a moving experience. So I do suggest that if people want to do that, that's be a great way to thank our veterans.
Might be something between Christmas and New Year's.
Or between Christmas and New
Yep.
Year's, perfect,
Yep.
yeah.
Since so many have that off. And then lastly, well, not lastly, but last Sunday was the public menorah lighting, first night of Hanukkah,
Yeah.
which is something that's only been with the town for a few years now.
Yeah, I think about 5 years ago, I think it was 5, maybe 6, we were approached by some members of the Jewish community in Wakefield, would we be open to this? And of course, completely open to it. And it's the Shabbat of North Shore comes in, and they actually provide the menorah, provide a program or do a program with prayers and song set up the menorah, take down the menorah, and also provide latkes, which is my favorite part of the evening, to tell you the truth. But I thought they did something this year that was a little bit different in their ceremony, which was that they had some veterans of Jewish faith speak, and the importance that this, acceptance and openness was to them, because what I did not know that, back as, late 1890s, that a veteran of Jewish descent or Jewish faith could not be buried in cemeteries with people that weren't Jewish. That was kind of what was going on in the nation at that time. And the veteran talked about that. Jewish veteran, talked about that history
Right.
the other night. And I was thinking, I said, wow, thankfully, I think we've come a long way from that. But it was really quite a story. And as I was standing there looking that event growing every year, and seeing a lot of people coming in of all faiths to enjoy that, is that how great is it to stand in that spot at the, some people may know it as the Upper Common,
Right.
or we know it as Veterans Memorial Park now, and you see our World War II memorial, we see our Civil War memorial, we see a menorah that we're lighting now, we see all of the holiday lightings on the
Yes.
trees in there. We see the Christmas tree at the Rockery, and I think that's what I would call it, is a Christmas tree at the Rockery. We see the Santa's workshop that the Lions Club runs, and across the street at the Congregational Church, you can see on their property,
Right.
the creche. But
Right.
we also have had the live nativity scene on the common,
Yes.
probably a few weeks before. So for me, sitting there and standing there and saying, what a testament it is to the community and to the current town councils and town councils before, that all of these different viewpoints are being celebrated
Right.
in harmony with no angst, no issues. And it makes me feel very proud to be a Wakefieldian and to enjoy that. So I enjoy that evening a lot. The rabbi who manages it or runs it has a wonderful chanting voice and sings the song. So it really is a great event. And like I said, you get a lacquer or two at the end of it. So that's the main part. But wonderful event filled with, people from 2 to 90.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was really very proud of the community that we do that. Very proud to serve it.
And it's great for anyone who's not Jewish to at least experience it once.
Yes, exactly.
You know, to see a different holiday
Exactly.
tradition. You know, and then lastly, the Boys and Girls Club of Wakefield.
Yeah, the Boys and Girls Club for the, I think this has been a long time, well, it's been a long time happening, but I think the Boys and Girls Club recently took it over, and it's I guess I call it a sleigh ride, where you have members of the community, including Councilor Chines and Councilor Dombrowski, pulling a sleigh full of toys and delivering those to people in need around the community. And this was actually postponed from Friday night, because we had a Friday night deluge last week, to Monday night, which I think was a pretty chilly night, as I recall. But again, a great event, you know, people giving their time. They always tease me that it's my turn to pull the tray. I am much too old. I can't do it anymore. And unfortunately, my knee isn't there yet. Maybe, I keep saying maybe next year, but I've been called out publicly, so I'm saying, I won't say no, I'll say maybe next year. We'll see what happens.
See how many times you can say maybe next
Maybe
year.
next year, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, on the horizon, and we'll focus on this more next month, but on the horizon, you have some news.
I do have some news, but before we get to that, and it'll be dovetailed into it, I think, is that we do also need to celebrate, and I will hopefully hit all of the wonderful teams and extracurricular activities at the high school. You know, I'd say it's a great day to be a warrior, and it is a great day to be a warrior in many respects. But number one, we have Super Bowl champs, football Super Bowl champs. Wonderful team, undefeated team, coached by a player on our last undefeated team, Coach Rafferty in 1970. And if you didn't get a chance to go to the game in Gillette, if you watched it on TV, I think that the offensive coordinator could go over to the Patriots and really help them out, because the plays that he was calling were spectacular. So we had that, state champs. We had the boys cross-country team, state champs. They were also there. Coach Perry Pappas does a great job with them. Our marching band, which went out to Rutgers regionally and played there under the direction of Tom Bankart. What a fabulous job they've done over the years continuously. We had the girls' dance team, which won not back-to-back, but back-to-back-to-back second places in the state. And they're going, I don't know if it's either Christmas Eve or New Year's, going down to dance halftime at one of the bowls, and then danced in Disney in the Main Street Parade. So a lot of great things going on at Wakefield High, and like I said, it's a great day to be a warrior, which is a perfect segue into what happened today. So today, sometime late this morning, the town of Wakefield actually was approved for the project scope and budget for the proposed new high school, which will be built behind the WCAT studios on the track there, and then this whole thing will be done. There's been 11 or 12 community forums about it, but the milestone that we had to hit at this point was to have the plans, you know, the basic plans, the scope, you know, where the building is going to be, what it's going to be configured as, you know, the amenities on it. You know, at this point, a classroom may move here or there, but basically, the basic design is approved. So that was approved today by a unanimous vote of the School Building Authority. And the reason why we go to the School Building Authority is because we will get reimbursed a percentage of our total costs for the project, and it's based on the demographics of the town. We are roughly going to get between 53 and 54% reimbursement, which would be great. However, well, it's great anyway, but the state reimburses up to 53, 54%, up to a square footage cost cap, which going into today's meeting was $360 per square foot. Well, anybody who's been studying construction prices and what's been going on in the building, anybody who's done any work on your own home, I think you're surprised at what the cost is of a 2x4, let alone what it is for steel to put on an addition or build a new school as we have right here. So, with prices skyrocketing in that area, the cost for the new school was pushing up around $800 per square foot. So that delta between $360 and $800 would all be on the town of Wakefield, just like it's all on every other town in Massachusetts. That is a capped rate for
Right.
every project. So at today's meeting, after a long discussion at the School Building Authority, they did agree to increase their ceiling on square footage reimbursement to $432 per square foot. So that's about a 20% increase, if my math is right, over what's before. So Wakefield will end up receiving probably about between $5 and $8 million more in reimbursement at this point. It could be even more than that.
Right.
And that'll bring the amount that we need to borrow down. So the cost to the local taxpayer will be lower than it was before when it's been presented. Now, please don't ask me for the numbers, because we've got to do all of this running and run them. We have to do some accounting work to see what
Yeah,
that's
it's
happening.
still a little too early because the news is literally
Right.
that fresh.
It's a couple of hours old.
Yeah.
So that'll be the subject of our next show.
Yes.
But it is exciting news, and I guess you could say it's a early holiday gift to the town of Wakefield. And they really do, at the state, they do a lot of, they really went through an agonizing discussion about how can they handle increasing that, because they saw the problem. However, they also have a funding issue.
Right.
So there's been no funding increase per se from the state or the federal government. So they're shifting around their existing funding to cover this, which means that there will be less projects approved over the next few years while this gets sorted out, while they do this. So this change will affect any program that had their scope and budget funding agreement voted on and approved from October 1st, 2022 forward. So where we were approved today, we certainly qualify that for it. Schools and projects that were approved beforehand, like our neighbors in Stoneham, like our neighbors up Hemlock Road at the Voc,
Right.
they're not eligible for this because they were approved too early. So I have to applaud, the town council, school committee, our state delegation, in really working with the SBA to try to get them to increase that, and they did. I think that in the future, I think we need to, as a state, find more money to go into this program, because this is a direct effect on every single community
Right.
in Massachusetts, including when you look at some of your gateway communities, which are receiving 90% reimbursement, but they were affected by the same cap. And maybe in those cases, it was even a little bit harder for them to come up with the difference
Sure.
in there.
Sure.
So I really, applaud Executive Director Jack McCarthy at the SBA, who's been a great friend to Wakefield and has a great affinity for the town in putting this together. In fact, he said today at the meeting that I was able to say a few words at. They're only supposed to have one person speak at the meeting for a district, and this is a school project, and it should be the school superintendent.
Right.
So Dr. Lyons did speak, and he did say, well, I also have Steve Maio on the phone, on the call or on the Zoom meeting, and he might want to say a few words. And I saw Jack McCarthy laughing, and he says, Steve hasn't paid me enough yet to say this, but I'll let him anyway. So I think that's the kind of relationship we do have with the SBA. So we will be going forward. This was step one.
Yep.
We will be looking at how this affects the taxpayer for step two. Tomorrow at noon, there'll be a special meeting of the town council, and the sole purpose of that meeting is to open the warrant, well, to set a date, which will be suggested that it will be January 28th,
A
2023, which is Saturday.
Yep.
For a special town meeting
Yep.
to approve the borrowing for the project, and that'll take a 2/3 vote, as every borrowing does. So that'll be the 28th, 9 a.m. at the Field House here on Hemlock Road at the high school. The reason why it's at the Field House is because I anticipate, if the Galvin is any indication, when we have the Galvin vote, that the high school auditorium, the Galvin Auditorium, which is around 700 seats or so, I think we'll see about double that at this meeting. And we certainly want to have everybody able to see the presentation, hear it, be in the same room. And also because we are counting for bond counsel, and we want to make sure that that's all, very, very open, not that it wouldn't be otherwise, but very open in one spot.
Right.
So there's no, hint of a question on it. If and when that passes town meeting, town council will then have to set a special election date. And that special election date will be sometime in the beginning of March. And the reason why we need a special election is because anytime there is a Proposition 2.5 override, or debt exclusion, what this is, an override of 2.5 for a shorter period of time, the time of the note, and think of it, it's your 30-year mortgage. I mean, that's what it's gonna be for those 30 years. And there needs to be a two-prong approach. It needs to be town meeting vote, which is 2/3 because it's a bond.
Yep.
And then going to an election, which is just a majority rule on that.
Right.
So it's 50 plus 1 vote for
Right.
that. And that entire process needs to be wrapped up within 120 days of today, which would put us just a little bit out of the town election, which is going to be at the latter part of April, per the charter. So, exciting news. I'm very grateful that we're getting more money than we thought, which means that the effect to the taxpayer that's been bandied about before will be lessened. We can now kind of hone that number a little bit, and we'll play a prognosticator to see where do we think rates are going to go over the next few years, or next couple of years while we get the bonding in place. And there's a lot of great minds on the Finance Committee that will be discussing this, as will our very capable Town Treasurer, John McCarthy, and our Town Accountant, Kevin Gill, and members of the Town Council and School Committee. And it's exciting times, and what I will say to the community is that if this does not happen now, because of the state's change in the square footage reimbursement, without additional funding from outside, the waiting list is going to get longer. So less projects will be approved per year. So I think this is something that we really need to look at and push forward and think about carefully, think about all the options. And we'll be working on this, over the next month, really, because it's going to be a sprint to town meeting and then a sprint to the election. So, but exciting news today. Today's a great day. I've been lucky enough to have been involved in a number of these projects in town: Galvin, Walton School, Woodville, Dahlberg, and now the high school. So great working with the School Building Authority. And I will say this, although it was a lot easier to do the meeting on Zoom today, I missed going into to Broad Street in Boston and getting to their building, and actually getting to see some colleagues from around the state and other communities that were coming with their schools. So really some exciting times, and I think people need to stay tuned to local and social media, and particularly WCAT, which will have some good information on this. So exciting day, and really this is the first public statement of what happened today.
Excellent, excellent. Interesting way to wrap up the year. But, you know, but I think we need to acknowledge the fact that we wish everyone out there happy holidays, safe holidays. Unfortunately, it won't be a white Christmas again this year, but
Well, as I've said,
at least not
I'm
in,
very
not
much
in the
okay.
Boston area.
I'm very much okay with not having a white Christmas. You know, put some frosting on your windows if you want, from a budgetary standpoint. But I get it. I do get it. But again, I think it's, you know, I would just say to everybody, have some wonderful time with family and friends, you know, enjoy some downtime, enjoy
Yep.
some relaxation.
Yep.
Because it has been, you know, a hectic couple of years, maybe 3 years now, I guess.
Going on to,
And I
Yep.
think that, but I really appreciate the good wishes and the thoughts of, and actions of our citizens and friends in Wakefield that really make this a special community. So, Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas to everybody.
and the same here, from WCAT, from all of us here at Town Administrators Report. We want to wish you a happy holiday, very safe holiday, and we'll see you in 2023. Thank you very much.
Thank you.